From the savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, "Tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, "To educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society."
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you preparing? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, "When you know better, then you do better." Ambazonians, watch Ethics for an emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 4 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
Sovereign silhouette, the emblem of Ambazonia. From the Azu embrace of the Atlantic reflecting from the Ambas Bay, the iconic Fako Mountain ascends with a silent, stoic grace, carving a silhouette against the sky. This towering sentinel is more than a geographical marvel. It is the heart of Southern Cameroons, the stoic guardian of Ambazonia, a symbol steadfast as the unyielding spirit manifests in the unity of the land's 13th counties. Encircling this earthen spire A dove of peace edges its out, untouched and serene. As it soars with wings unfurled, it casts shadows upon the land, each feather a brushstroke of tranquility. Against the canvas of the heavens, 13 stars glimmer, the celestial acknowledgement of each county's shared dreams and harmonious virtues. The dove, in its eternal flight, is not merely a bird, but an embodiment of the collective longing for a peaceful existence under a shared identity. Beneath the mountain top, firmly grounded in the richness of the earth, twin elephant tusks rise as natural monuments. Their arcs, regal and commanding, capture the noble essence of the land spirit animals. This emblem, this seal of Ambazonia, is no mere insignia. It is the beacon that illuminates the path to shared prosperity. It is an oasis of unity in a world parched by discord, a visual whisper of a nation's promise, echoing across generations. Every curve, every symbol within the emblem tells the story of Southern Cameroons, an epic scripted by the enduring strength and unity of its communities. Each page imbued with the hopes and enduring spirit of its people. Sovereign silhouette, the emblem of Ambazonia.
Greetings to the people of Ambazonia this 26th day of January 2024, and welcome to our ethics program for today. Dear Ambazonians and friends of Ambazonia, we welcome you to today's ethics program. In this year of focus and stability, we encourage all Ambazonians to prioritize moral education, because there can be no freedom in the absence of morality. And that should be the take of every Ambazonian. Now, today, as we get into our ethics, want us to remember that in today's ethics, want to remind you of the theme that we have for this year. And the theme for this year is signs of the times that point to the emergence of a sovereign Ambazonia, and the need for a critical mass of ethical Ambazonians to ensure smooth, united, and peaceful landing in Buea. And this is a theme for the year. But today, the topic for today is ethical expectations of our potential partners. Now, before we get into that, I would like to introduce to you the partners that are with me here in the studio, the panelists who will be bringing to you what you actually need to know from the topic of today. Now we have Comrade Tangshi and Dr. Tom Dula, and we'll want to give this opportunity for each of them to say hello to the Ambazonian people before we get into the nucleus of the discussion for today. So the microphone is rightly in your hands, Comrade Tangshi. Go ahead.
Hello, televiewers. Hello, those of us watching us on YouTube and and uh, and Facebook. Welcome to our program today. I am Peter Tanshi. I come from the Mezam County, and I've been on the program for a while now. So we really appreciate your presence. Viewing us today. And Pastor Commando, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Peter. Without wasting time, we cross over to Dr. Tom Dula to say a word to the people before we dive into the whole show. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Pastor Commando. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, fellow Ambazonians, wherever you are. Greetings, patriotic greetings, especially to our people on the home front, and most especially to our valiant Ambazonia State Army. My name is Tom Dula, the Vice Chair of the Ethics Commission under the leadership of Maduro Tingwa. I come from Babisi LGA in Gaukatunja County. Happy to be here today to discuss some ethical issues with you all once again. Thank you.
Looking at our ethical expectations of our potential partners in Ambazonia, we'll go right ahead after hearing the introduction of our guest for today. We want to discuss expectations of investors, contractors, and entrepreneurs. 2, we want to discuss expectation of non-governmental organizations, that is NGOs. And 3, we want to discuss expectations of diplomatic relations in our country as we get back home. All right, point number 1. Now that Ambazonia will soon be a sovereign nation, what should be expected of foreign investors, contractors, and entrepreneurs that would uphold the moral status of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia? Now, we want Comrade Tangshi to just go ahead and give us the expectations of the Ambazonian people as far as this particular point is concerned. Over to you, Comrade.
Okay, thank you again for having me again, Pastor Commando. Yeah, when we really, our independence is recognized and we are running our affairs, some of the partners we would be running with who would really help in developing a prosperous Ambazonia, according to the policies we shall put, would be investors, contractors, entrepreneurs, both national and international. So there will be policies put out by the government for this set of people. But what are the ethical expectations, or what ethics would be enforced with these, our partners, so that we run a smooth and prosperous society? Let's start first with investors. Investors are people who bring their capital into the into a country or into an area put them onto projects or do some activities which create wealth or which facilitates the smooth running of that community, or give them assets or infrastructure to that community. And in turn, because they have brought their capital, and they in turn have to make some profit in the course of that. And so these investors can be national and they could be international. So the ethical expectation from them, or the ethics that shall be emphasized and monitored and analyzed, and make sure that they work in a fashion that promotes growth in the society without corruption. It facilitates distribution of wealth. So what are the ethical expectation from them? So they will be doing business. So what is that? So business shall be given to these partners in an open way. The ethics is no person shall pay for tips either to a minister or to some LGA county or a panel in order to get this business. So the ethics committee shall mention that. So that is at the start of their business, or at the start of getting people to bid for this business. It would be very transparent, will be open on, and will let them know, both those who are in the panel who will be giving out the contracts or the activities to be carried out, and those who are bidding for them, that no bribe should be given in order to get this business. It's only your capacity and your past records where you've delivered business. This is your ability shall be first, and whether you have the necessary manpower and the experience to do the project. That's what shall be very, very important. And let's take, so if any person who is any of these investors who is found out that they're trying to gain some favor by trying to go behind and either influence the decision of the panel that shall be giving out the contracts, they would really or just be taken out the list of those. They will not be awarded, and also be taken out the list of investors who would be bidding for the contracts that come that would come subsequently, and that particular one. So, and how will this be done? As we've seen in the past, Ambazonia in their free state where they will be governing when our independence is recognized, will set up an ethics commission where they will provide for whistleblowing. If you suspect such a thing there would be a hotline for whistleblowing, so that these activities can be reported. Or if you are a member of a panel and some person contacts you, or you have those are the people, you can report that to the ethics committee, which will be in charge of that. Or if you are not comfortable, you can report that anonymously by using lines that we shall provide. So, because this is very important, because when somebody gives perks to get a project, there are a number of things. Either money which was meant for the project, he's taken some out and given to individuals to get the project. So, and then secondly, the project might not well be executed to the high standard that it's expected. Maybe it's a building, they'll use cheap material, or they use poor finishing, or they use low quality material and all that, just because part of the money was used in giving out perks. And then, so it is very important that all the money goes to that project and not to give out bribes. So that is for investors. And then on the other hand, those dealing with these investors, either national or international, because national people would also, are investors. If you are on a panel for giving out contracts, and for some reason you know that maybe your uncle or your father or your son is part of that particular project in giving it, there would be provision for you to excuse yourself out of that panel, if it's because you would, normal human being, you might really be biased towards an uncle, brother, or your child. So those are some of the ethical things that Ambazonia will put in place on the side of those panels, so that people can excuse themselves if they think that there would be a conflict of interests if they are taking part in the panel. So those are some of the safeguards we'll be putting as part of for the panelists. Yeah. And we would, any panelist too should not, will be prohibited for asking, in case really asking for perks from an investors before they favor them in any decision. Again, if you were a member of, even if you were an investor and one of those panelists for giving out the contract contacts you in that light, you would also be informed. You have that hotline or that medium of reporting is also open to you, so that the Ambazonian people can take the right call, let justice take its course on those people who are on the panelists and making active effort to ask for investors for favor to favor them for a particular bid of a contract. Let's now consider contractors. Contractors are those who then work for an investor. Our investors might bring his money, but he is not really working there. The contractors are like the workers who work for these investors. What code of conduct should be put in place for those who really, in turn, then work on this project? So working on project, there is always a lot which is at your disposal that you can misuse, or you use unethical methods to gain unfair advantage, or gain some rewards which which you were meant for the project, but you putting them for yourself instead of them going on the project. So how will these contractors and workers for these investors be controlled ethically? So there would also be a code of conduct for those who are working, so that you don't, all the materials that are for a project, or all the resources that are put for a project should be used there. I mean, material and resources, because you shouldn't take material which is meant for a project and use it for your own private work, or take material resources, human resources, which were supposed to work on a project, and let them now work, but now on your own project. Again, if you are a colleague, a contractor, saying that such is happening, again, that hotline would be open for you to call, so that such people are then reported, and justice takes its course. So those are on that aspect. That is why both national and international. Some other thing which is not really ethical, but which would be part of the policies, as we've seen when the Minister of Commerce and Economics passed around last year, was will be the policies. In a sense, the ethical, in a sense that those that investors bring to work on a project, those ones, they should be national nationals. if the resource, if the take the material is available locally, so most of the material for this project should be sourced locally. And then the other one is the resource, which is the skilled workers. Either you can bring in for international companies, you bring in people, maybe if those people are not available locally and only for a period of time. It's ethical that those projects also provide employment for locals. So you can bring them for a number of time. They work alongside with locals to get the right skills, and then over time we can then phase out the foreign workers in favor of the nationals who are capable of doing the job, because it lets wealth move in the society, and that is what we want in the society. Everybody to be able to have enough resources to uh, to sponsor their children and themselves and their families. So having national workers working on this project it's in a sense it's ethical. Yeah, it's very ethical. And then the one other aspect was, if entrepreneur contractors come in, they should also, some of the resources can be national entrepreneurs partnering up with them, so that they over time they are nationals too who can bid for those very resources, because they have worked with other people that they hadn't the skills before, who were international investors or contractors. So these some of the very ethical things, which are ethical and again has economic reasons, right? So that is it. It's covering both national and international entrepreneurs, contractors, and investors. So these are the some of the ethical things we would implement in business to let Ambazonia be a shining beacon country in the world. So that is what we have to say about this on the business ethics, business aspect for investors, contractors, and entrepreneurs. Thank you. Over to you, Pastor Commando.
We don't hear you. No,
Can't hear you.
as Commando, you're muted. We don't hear you. No, not yet. Maybe Pastor Commando should log out and log in again. No. Hello? Seems to be a problem.
Sovereign silhouette, the emblem of Ambazonia. From the azure embrace of the Atlantic reflecting from the Ambas Bay, the iconic Fako Mountain ascends with a silent, stoic grace, carving a silhouette against the sky. This towering sentinel is more than a geographical marvel. It is the heart of southern Cameroons, the stoic guardian of Ambazonia, a symbol steadfast as the unyielding spirit manifests in the unity of the land's 13th counties. Encircling this earthen spire, a dove of peace edges its arc, untouched and serene. As it soars with wings unfurled, it casts shadows upon the land, each feather a brushstroke of tranquility. Against the canvas of the heavens, 13 stars glimmer, the celestial acknowledgement of each county's shared dreams and harmonious virtues. The dove, in its eternal flight, is not merely a bird, but an embodiment of the collective longing for a peaceful existence under a shared identity. Beneath the mountain top, firmly grounded in the richness of the earth, twin elephant tusks rise as natural monuments. Their arcs, regal and commanding, capture the noble essence of the land spirit animals. This emblem, this seal of Ambazonia, is no mere insignia. It is the beacon that illuminates the path to shared prosperity. It is an oasis of unity in a world parched by discord, a visual whisper of a nation's promise, echoing across generations. Every curve, every symbol within the emblem tells the story of Southern Cameroons, an epic scripted by the enduring strength and unity of its communities. Each page imbued with the hopes and enduring spirit of its people. Sovereign silhouette, the emblem of Ambazonia.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We hear you 5 on 5.
All right.
Yes, Commander.
Very sorry for that impasse. Let's go. Yeah, the next point of discussion today on our topic, which is taken from our entire theme for the year, and the theme is reading to us that well, our theme says ethics, signs of the times that point to the emergence of a sovereign Ambazonia and the need for a critical mass of ethical Ambazonians to ensure smooth and united and peaceful landing in Boya. And we took as a theme for today ethical expectations of our potential partners. And of course, we are still deliberating on the first point of discussion, which is expectations of investors, contractors, and entrepreneurs. We have just listened to Comrade Tangshi talk to us about the expectations. We are going to cross over now to point of discussion number 2, which will ask Comrade Dula to give us what his thoughts and his take is about it. And that is, after war, there are so many healthcare related needs that the government alone cannot meet them all. So doors will be open to foreigners or to foreign NGOs and charities. What should we expect of them that will uphold the moral status of our nation? Comrade Tanshi, the microphone is yours.
Okay, I think it's directed to me, Mr. Commando. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Tamdula once again. Well, yes, talking about the state of our independence quest, it is more than evident that we are getting very, very close to the finish line. We've never been this far in our 62 years of independence quest for a sovereign Ambazonia, an independence that was granted us 62 years ago, but then somehow taken away by saying independence by joining with the Ivola Republic government, an unholy alliance that has led to eventually to the war we are having now, that our brave Ambazonia State Army is fighting back home. Well, talking about how the future healthcare system in Ambazonia will be, it will be everything other than what we are having now. What are we now having under the Republic? We have hospitals that are actually run like health centers with regards to equipment and personnel that is not well trained, and the organizational part of it is just a disaster. You have nurses posing as doctors. You have patients, their rights being violated, not even knowing what their rights are, and patients being talking down upon by doctors and nurses, and the corruption that is in the political arena, in the hierarchy in La Republique. The health sector has not been spared from this corruption. So there is corruption everywhere, and that leads to very, very bad governance. And if it's a bad governance at a place where you deal with the most important thing that we have, our lives, human lives, then that is very disastrous. In the future Ambazonia, in an independent Ambazonia, such things will not happen. We all know that the government alone cannot take care of all those things, and has to contract private investors and international organizations, also in the name of NGOs, to help the government carry out such duties, especially in the healthcare sector, in the social services sector. And what is very important, that we don't have just a repeat of what is happening in La Republique. There has to be high moral, ethical standards expected of these institutions, of these NGOs, private as well as international and governmental organizations, helping the government out to carry out the functions. So what are those? We will look at the past of such organizations, such institutions, what they've been doing in other countries, especially in Africa. There are NGOs that are in the health sector, in the charity sector, who have committed various atrocities on our people back home, ranging from illegal testing of drugs, unethical testing of drugs on our local population with the help of corrupt leaders who have been bribed to look the other way and allow such things to be perpetrated on our people, and the lack of knowledge by our people about such things, because who is to inform them about the dangers posed by such fake firms other than the government, which actually is the one allowing such firms to come in either knowingly or unknowingly, either through bribery and corruption or through lack of adequate control and in order to see if they are adequate, their services are adequate for our people. So in the future Ambazonia, such things would not only be frowned upon, but will be severely punished. And we will have to start now by instilling that sense of moral uprightness through ethical values that we instill into our people, so that they be aware of their civic responsibilities, of their duties, and above all of their rights when they have to be treated as patients, when they are dealing with officials, with people who are elected to take care of their needs, and when they are being treated by any health facility, be it internal or external, in the name of NGOs and all that. So as Comrade Tanshi rightly put it, many of those things that happen that happen unethically with business leaders will especially be reinforced. The punishments of those violating such ethical rules will especially be severe in the medical sector, because it has to do with the lives of our very own people, the most important asset to them, and which we are called upon to protect. So there will be this national board set up, National Ethical Board, to see into all those, to make and enforce all those rules, see to it that those rules are followed both by internal and external contractors, by the government in place, and failure to do so, those officials will have to bear the consequences, will be called out and shamed, and not just allowed to go on doing business as usual, as is the case in La Republique now. Well, that would be for the institutions and NGOs and all that. Coming now specifically to the medical sector, what is being offered there? Medical services are being offered to our people by personnel, from nurses, healthcare workers, to doctors who should have been trained and should be qualified to do what they are called upon to do. Not only academically qualified, but socially qualified also, can interact well with human beings, with patients, with our fellow Ambazonians. And if they are coming from abroad, from outside, they should treat our local people with respect, they should be professionals, and they should be on top of their trade. So how will this be enforced? There will be a national board, a medical board to assess the excellence of the medical personnel, as was once presented here by the able Dr. Tita, head of HSS, how they envisage the future healthcare system. So our people assuming those positions, nurses, healthcare workers, medical doctors, will be checked and assessed that they are morally fit, that they are qualified to do what they are supposed to be doing, and how they interact with patients, that they are also socially fit to exercise those functions in the future Ambazonia. Then and only then will they be recommended to the government that licenses be given to them to practice the medical profession on Ambazonian soil. That is what is being done in many other developed countries. Ambazonia will be no exception. And ethics being very big on our agenda, in the medical sector, it will be much more bigger, and we will be very, very strict on people violating such the ethical rules and standards set up, especially in the medical sector. So first, going back to the autonomous Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, in the 50s, the 60s, with our the governments of Endele, Foncha, Joa, where sanitary aspect was very high on the agenda, starting from the home level to the quarter level, to the village level, to the town level, and nationally. We will reinstitute that, and the punishments, even for little violations of these sanitary rules, will be severe and will be meted out in such a way as to deter people from even thinking of doing such things, as opposed to what is the lax attitude we have in La Republique today. So those are some of the things that we will enforce, we will put in place in the future Ambazonia to see to it that things run smoothly and ethically in the medical and paramedical sector and the social services sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Dr.
very
Tom.
much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Welcome.
That's what machines can do sometimes, you know. So we need to. Thank you very much, Dr. Tom. We are going back to where we were in the 60s, and that is why we are putting things in perspective right now. And I hear some people saying, why should you be talking about these ethical things while we are still at war? We have not yet finished the war, and so on and so forth. Please don't be like those who come in here and tell us that Ambazonia is abstract and that there is no flag for Ambazonia, yet they are running up and down trying to make sure that the Ambazonia is free by pretending. And there are some people who tell us not to mention their names because by so doing, we prolong the fighting. No, we will tell somebody who will come up and say that Ambazonia does not exist. It is abstract. Yet he's running to go and sue TV Senk for 2.6 billion when Ambazonia is not existing. So he's manifesting his ego, that his purpose and business as far as Ambazonia is concerned is money. And so he can sell anybody and sell even the flag of Ambazonia in order to get money. And somebody said we shouldn't talk about that. So we are getting back to our final and to our ethical values in the 60s. Now, point number 3 in the first discussion that we had is what should be expected of internal or national investors, contractors, and entrepreneurs. This goes now to Comrade Tangshi. I'm sorry, when I came to Dr. Ndula, I mentioned Tangshi because I'm getting used to the name, and the name is sweet. So, Comrade,
one can see they look alike.
In your hands. Now that I've known how to pronounce your name, it appears I will be calling your name every now and then. All right, the microphone is yours, sir. Go ahead and tell us.
Comrade Tansi, we don't hear you. You're muted.
Apologies for that. Can you hear me now?
We hear you now.
Yes. Oh, apologies for that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I said the next topic we're dealing with is ethics at the diplomacy level, because we did the investors and entrepreneurs and contractors previously. So some of the partners that we will be dealing with are, when our independence is recognized, is our other countries, the other countries we'll be dealing with. There will be a lot of diplomatic things to be discussed with friendly countries, with friendly organizations like the United Nations and all the other ones. Yeah, as you said, some people say Ambazonia doesn't exist. Why are we discussing even diplomacy when we are still not yet recognized? Yeah, I think TV5 Mon did also show that we exist. Yeah, they showed our flag, which was okay, though they showed it against the wrong country. But yeah, it shows they have it. Our flag is out there, so that's fine. So we thank TV5 Mon for that. So so that is a part of diplomacy. So we would congratulate TV5 Mon for bringing us our interests, showing our flag. The world knows our flag now. So that is quite a good one, diplomacy. We will thank them for that. And then when we are fully recognized as a country and dealing with our other countries, what ethics should we be expressing when we are dealing with other countries and the international organizations like the UN and other things like African Union and all that? Our interests, because it's but ethical that in a relationship, don't go into any relationship without outlining your interest very well. It's ethical. That is one of the ethical policies Ambazonia has agreed to adopt. We go in with our interest so that whatever thing we are negotiating, we let our partners, which at that diplomacy level, know our interests. It's always possible to negotiate situations in which they are win-win for both parts, right? So the diplomacy to let maybe even their NGOs or their investors come in, we let our partner countries, if they are bringing investors from another country, please ham on your investors who are coming that we are very ethical in how things are done. So at the diplomatic level, let those ones know, because international people, when they come, they always go to their embassy, they always talk to their representatives in those countries. So if our interest is known through these diplomatic means, that bribery is not excused in this country, it's very severe. They are getting that through their own system, and they see what we are doing. That is our interest. So that would really be great. So we pass this through our diplomatic channels. And in some NGOs coming to operate the same thing, we say that, if you are an NGO coming in for a particular activity, let's say medical, as Dr. Ndula said, we say, okay, we need these doctors for these posts, and they must be able to have this ethics and this qualification. And it's us, though you are coming to help us, is we know our needs. So our first thing is we are the ones who know our needs. If you come to provide certain things and say, oh, we're bringing you 20 tons of maize, say, we say, no, we grow maize too. We don't want 20 tons of maize, except it's disaster or anything, but not on a regular basis, on a normal functioning courses. If you think, or I think that maize is needed, or corn, yeah, in my country, what the type of herb I will need from you is, please, can you, instead of bringing us corn, can you facilitate us so that with machinery, the land is fertile, so that we can plow a large piece of land within a short time and produce large corn of maize for yourself. That is the type of herb we want from you. The technology to do that, that is the type of herb. So that is our interest in. By so doing, our interest is you've employed our people, you've provided food, and your interest is you've provided the machinery, you make some money in getting the machinery. Yeah. So it's a win-win situation there. We should always recognize, if you discover that we need a maths teacher or physics teacher, right, what we will do is, please bring some of we would appreciate your help. These are just examples. Come over, some of your lecturer come over into our schools, or build this school where there were lots of maths and science teacher. You bring in lecturer as help to us, so that at the same time you are teaching like 50 to 100 maths and physics teachers in an infrastructure a year. By doing that, what have you gained? Your people who've come to produce, to educate or train these teachers, they got a good salary. We in turn have so many physics teachers and infrastructure, and that is like a win-win situation, rather than the opposite of taking one person and sending to a country abroad for education, where it's only that one person, and it's a lot of money counted as help to that country, but it's not very effective. But if you taught like 50 institute in that country, it's a great thing, right? So it's a matter of win-win situation that policy, which is we consider ethical, that we would be discussing with our diplomats, with different countries, and with different organizations. Same if you go to other organizations which are only country, the priority, and it will be ethical for us also to let our leaders know what the interests of their various departments are before they discuss any issues with international organizations and our partners at diplomatic level. So this is very important, to let this relationship go on, deal in a very ethical manner, non-corrupting method, passing it through their representatives and defining our interests. It's but very ethical thing to do, and that would produce a very prosperous country. So never go into any diplomacy without your own copy of your own interests that you want to present there. It's but ethical, though, but that is the policy we would be following. So again, that is a bit what we have to say on diplomacy and the ethics. So, except Dr. Tom Ndula has something to add to that.
Yes, you're quite right, Competency. I mean, all you said, and we have to see all this against the backdrop of what is happening in the rest of Africa. There is this wind of change, real wind of change sweeping over Africa, with young with young leaders emerging and assuming their responsibility as true Africans. That's to make Africa great again. I would say fulfilling the visions of Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Lumumba, who at the time were murdered either by their own people or with the help of foreigners, or directly by the foreigners in the case of Patrice Lumumba, for their pro-African stance, and somebody like late Muammar Gaddafi, who was also very pro-African. So knowing that we have those people in those high places who are few in number, but in the eyes of the West, they are like they are rebel leaders, they are coup plotters, they are even termed as being partly terroristic. Those are things that the people like if it is something really pro-African. And what Comrade Tanshi said, all of this should go in that sense. And talking about being pro-African, we have at home, there is in La République this Institute for the Research of Medicinal Plants. We have such a thing also in Amazonia. We used to have it in southern Cameroons. We have our traditional medical practitioners who, with herbs and with local methods, treat various forms of diseases, and who are slowly being recognized by the authorities that we will, in the future Amazonia, we will accelerate such processes and greatly encourage homemade solutions to our problems, starting in the medical field. So all this brain drain happening, and our traditional healers selling their herbs for giveaway prices to be developed here in the West, and then resold to us at exorbitant, at cutthroat prices, that will stop. And we are already seeing that wind of change sweeping, and it will sweep, that wind will sweep much faster in an independent an independent Amazonia in the very near future. So that is what I will have to add to all of that. Thank you. We don't hear you, Pastor Commando. Seems to be some little technical problems again. Yeah, well, as I was saying, I mean, such things would be greatly encouraged by us. We have to look at what is happening elsewhere, in India, in China. There is the traditional Chinese medicine, which is not only in China, but here in Europe. It is widely being applied. We're not supported by the insurance companies, but it is very, very present everywhere in the world. And that is what we should be doing in a future Amazonia, in line with other African countries who are doing the same. So that would be my take on this.
Yeah, you are really right, especially on the traditional aspect of it, and it's some of the very unethical things again at the diplomacy level has also been that a situation in which, when as we were saying, some of the just because the entrepreneurs are encouraged to come and rip off Africa, bring in all plus resources, machinery and resources, and then so you are getting both you're getting the society both you are, when you come in, you are instead providing unemployment in the society because you're bringing all resources.
Exactly.
And then you make a profit and you still take it all out. So the continent is not it's not like a farm where you go to the farm and get everything and go home and forget about it. It's a place where people live. So we must determine our interests. If we come, the people should be involved as much as possible, and then also try and, I can use the word, manufacture our own entrepreneurs, or those who can then down the line do the work for us. And diplomacy is very important in this one, because if you always pass that through these friendly countries, so some countries really have good intention, but it's the investor who wants to get like, I don't know, 500% profit, that just bring in all this, and in turn rinse the country, or they come in and bribe a bit of leader. So this is one other thing. So the ethics should really fall on our leaders a lot. I always say that ethics to work is a top-down situation. It must start at the top with the leaders, because if that one
Exactly.
is, if it's influence at that high level, and with all this high international body, and it swindles, that it goes down to the ministry, goes down to the counties and the LGAs, the same thing, then it really works. It takes a very short time to come out with a great country. This has been exhibited over time and time over by leaders who have followed ethical methods and within a short time changed their countries. One of the great countries in the world now is Singapore. If they've taken a very short time to be where they are, very short time, and the president who started that, he is just in his 90s now, he's still living. But in the 60s, Singapore, nobody knew of Singapore. It's one of the top countries in the world. Just the way they have done things, ethics is taken very seriously in that country. You emulate such things, it works. For that to happen, our leaders should be very, very ethical themselves, and then have a great vision for the country. So I don't know whether Pastor Commando is back. Yeah, but we are not hearing you.
Not yet. Mhm. Not yet. And I think, yes, just to add to that, Comrade Tanshi, there are
Can you
today,
hear me
in
now?
today's world,
Yes.
yes,
Can you hear
we
me now?
hear you now. We hear you.
All right. Okay. Now, thank you very much. I don't know what is happening today, the technical hitches, but we will go through. We will go through. Yeah, the next point that we're to discuss. Thank you very much for just stepping in and saying all that you are saying and doing all that you are doing. That is the spirit. That is the spirit. Now, over to you, Dr. Tom. Was actually a turn when you commented on what the Comrade Tanshi was saying. I wanted to just give you
Yes.
our own topic to comment and go through immediately, but I couldn't just step in. What about the local NGOs and charities when it comes to these ethical issues that we are actually talking about? The local NGOs and local charities. Over to you, Dr. Tom.
Yes, thank you, Pastor Commando. Yeah, in today's world, we have to know there are hardly people who come along and then twist your arm and then force you that without your proper consent, they will do this and that to your people, or they will carry out this and that experiments on your people, or economically enslave your people. They come very cleverly through contracts that are well crafted, and our people, our leaders, they willingly sign such contracts, partly for selfish reasons, partly because they are not well informed, partly because they lack the ethical, moral upbringing or input that would have helped them decide otherwise. So it is up to our our leaders in the future Ambazonia. We would see to it that ethics permeates every, as we've been saying in many of our shows, permeates every level of society, from the primary school from the nursery school to the university, and in all the institutions, even those who do not make it into the four walls of the schools, in communities, in traditional gatherings, in village gatherings. Ethics will be high on the agenda in the local languages. So our people know not only their civic duties, but also their rights and how they are to confront people who want to misuse them. So nobody can force anyone today in such an enlightened world to sign a contract they don't want to sign. Our leaders willingly do that, and we, the people, the common people, they suffer from it. So the local NGOs and charities, they will have to adhere. They can only, their practice and their works can only be as good and as bad towards the local population as the leadership allows it to be. If there is lack of control, lack of oversight, lack of because of lack of ethical and moral uprightness from the part of our leaders, then such NGOs and charities will thrive, like the local mafia elsewhere, who can do and undo because they are partly having people, supporters in high up places who are their accomplices, knowingly or unknowingly. So that is the way those local charities and NGOs will be kept in check. But on the other hand, they are also to be lauded for the good jobs they are doing. Let's take the Catholic Church, the Presbyterian Church, the Baptists, for example. They have schools and medical facilities and healthcare facilities, which they run with help of the state, subvention from the state, at a tiny fraction to what foreign NGOs would need to run such facilities, and it offer a very big service to our people back home. Even in the crooked and corrupt La République du Cameroon, they still do a good job. How much more in the future independent, totally independent Ambazonia, which has been infused at all levels with ethics, morals, and high standards required from everybody, especially those in leadership position. We take the example of Burkina Faso, for example, just the name, which translated means the land of upright men, the land of upright people, and they do their best to live up to that expectation. And we are going to take that even a step further, and see to it that all levels of society are permeated by it. So the NGOs, the local charities, they will not be operating in a vacuum, but in a setting that has accountability, oversight, and transparency being demanded from its leaders, who in turn will demand that from the local charities and NGOs. So those are the steps that will be used to ensure that things run smoothly and ethically in future Ambazonia with regards to NGOs and local charities. Thank you. Yes, again, we have some problems there. Yeah, I think today's, some technical difficulty day. In any case, I would like to give a shout out to all our brave, valiant, and selfless young people forming the Ambazonia State Army who have been doing a great job of late defending our people, defending themselves, and defending our people. I would urge all Ambazonians to support their LGAs, their counties,
Can
to
you hear me?
donate there to help people defend themselves and
Yeah.
help our
Can you hear me
suffering
now?
people.
Yes,
We
please.
hear you now, Pastor Commander.
Okay. All right. Sorry for that impasse. We are going to deal with whatever is trying to deal with us, because Ambazonia will set an
Exactly.
example. And so our ethics setting up will not only benefit Ambazonians, but will benefit every other person that will be a friend and that will be close to Ambazonia. Now we step over to point number 5 in our discussion, and we want to ask Comrade Tangshi to tell us another important area that can make or mar the reputation of Ambazonia in foreign relations. Should employees of the Ambazonian Department of Foreign Affairs have extra scrutiny and training in code of conduct before being sent out to represent the country, Ambazonia? Should that be done? Over to you, Comrade Tangshi.
Yeah, definitely. Then thanks for having me again, Pastor Commando. Definitely, because they are going to represent us outside. Not only train them to behave in the way in a good way outside to reflect us, but also train them to be able to first understand our problem, and then understand the possible solutions, and then before they then go out there. So when they are going out, they are also going out to be able to seek solutions for the problems we have when they counter people, and should be able to give the right information so that our people back home should be able to benefit from it, benefit the whole society. So as we said, this ethical, the diplomatic corps will be trained. And then one other thing is also to encourage the Ambazonians who are outside, who are out of the country, to know that they are part of the system, and even support them as much as possible, and encourage them to be part of the investors who can go back to Ambazonia to develop it. They should only not be employees while outside, but should be able to be investors in Ambazonia. So this type of mindset, which we think is very ethical, will be given to our diplomats who go abroad. When they should be able to encourage Ambazonians who are abroad to be entrepreneurs, and also to be eventual investors back in Ambazonia, because that is how most countries develop, when those who go out turn to be investors. So this type of mindset, it's a mindset thing to be. If you see how all the other countries develop, that is how it was. So our Ambazonians who are out are really doing diplomacy, and are also being ambassadors, and are also being investors for us. They will encourage them to be investors, to come back and invest in Cameroon. And this would only happen if those of us who are in our diplomatic relationship are going to do diplomacy for us out of the country, are well trained for that. Not only well trained, but put this mindset in their head, and they will also in turn, because Ambazonians will be contacting them, also change the mindset of Ambazonians that is ethical. You be an investor back in Ambazonia. It does two things, right? The profit, when he goes and invest back as an investor back in Ambazonia, he would be able to employ Ambazonians. Good, that's good. That one is ticked, and some people will be able to live a good life and feed their family and friends. Secondly, the bottom line, which is the profit, they will be able to make profit. The difference with that is that profit is stand a chance because he is Ambazonian or has his roots in Ambazonian. some of that profit might not only all be taken out, but some of it will be invested in one way or another in Ambazonia. So see what this diplomat has done. He's encouraged an Ambazonia to come and be an investor home. He's made some, he's employed some Ambazonian. He's made some profit. He's taken part of that profit and invested again back in Ambazonia. He normally, if he would take them out, that's why we're talking to Ambazonians who have their roots. Some of them, they might have other nationalities, but they have their roots in Ambazonia, and they will be they still have the interest to still invest there again. We encourage something. It's quite a big win-win situation for our diplomats who go out and with this type of trained mindset. So that not only Ambazonia, but even those, and it would also even encourage some investors. You create a very good environment. Some investor would take that up as their country and live there, because that's where they invested. You've put a nice environment. They will take up their country and live there. And it's good. Now we have more people who are coming there, the more wealth in the society, and that more wealth will go around in one way or the other, move from one person to the other through investments. So yes, the answer is yes to that, Pastor Commando.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
In conclusion, we will go over to Dr. Tom. Should our partner countries be expected to uphold some degree of morality when dealing with us? Dr. Tom, over to you.
Yes, that is definitely to be expected of them, and also especially of our people also, because of our own leaders. Because if you see the crooked, evil La République regime that is enslaving and killing our people in a genocidal war daily, they have very wonderfully crafted words on their constitution on how to deal with foreigners, how to deal with foreign firms and all that. All those things are listed there, but it is not practiced. That is what counts. It is not the words that are written in a constitution or the crafting of them, how good you are in a colonial language in crafting your decrees and all that, but how and if they are followed at all. And the reason I'm sure they are not followed is because the moral and ethical fabric of La République has crumbled, or has always been crumbled. They are a French colony, still a French colony, I would say, unofficially. And they do all their best to do things the way their former colonial master and still colonial master wants them to do it. That will be different in Ambazonia. We will not only see to it that, because when people come in, they see how you conduct business and they adapt. If people come in and then there is hardly any corruption in your country, or it is severely punished, they will think twice before even offering you some bribe or even trying to do things in a crooked manner. But if they come and then see that's what you are doing, they will say, hey, wonderful. They will just play along and everybody will be happy, except the local population, of course, which will be the loser. So we are to expect that from high ethical and moral standards from our foreign partners, and to show to show how serious we are in doing that. We first of all have to exhibit those qualities through especially our leaders dealing with such people, and the ethical commission set up nationally and locally has to do everything to to enforce that. So that is what I would have to say to that, because they say the water takes up the taste of the pipe in which it flows. If the foreign investors, partners, being that water that flows into the corrupt La République pipe, they will become just like those there. Never mind that those are foreigners in whose countries of origin ethics and morals and all that is held up in high standards. If they look, if they are in La République or somewhere else where corruption is very rampant, they will happily and quickly adapt and then do their business, conduct their business swiftly, and go back and leave the local population suffering. So that is what will definitely not be happening in the future independent Ambazonia.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What we know is that there is corruption in every country, but there is discipline for the corrupted. And that is why the heart of man gets frightened and does the right thing when there is discipline. But where there is no discipline and everybody is allowed to do anything that he wants to do, they will go away with it. So Ambazonia is coming with a code of ethics that you will reap the consequences of your actions. It doesn't matter who you are, beginning from the president right down to the list of persons in Ambazonia. I'm so glad that Comrade Tanshi quoted Singapore. I remember in 1977, Cameroon at that time sent support to Singapore when they were really needing, So, but today, they are called the first world. And the people in the past that sent support to them are instead going back to the 50th world, if there is something like that. So Ambazonia was following up with Singapore in those days. But La République, with their corruption and their every mechanism, France now step in to do what they have been doing for the past years. But this generation, we have come up to say the ethics must be applied. So I want to thank all of you so much for coming in and for your contribution. But before we leave the stage, I want to say that the patriotic segment of our ethics, I will read it out. But before then, Ambazonians, we are switching gears to our Know Your Ethics Code segment. The IG wants Ambazonians to be informed patriots when we have our nation. Ethics Commission decided to make the ethics code to the people by reading out a portion of it each time we meet. Today, we will read section 5 of the ethics code. In our ethics code, we'll read section 5 of that code, and then we'll call it quit for today. So let's go. Shareholdings is the topic of the section 5. That is avoiding conflicts of interest. Elected members and or employees may invest in shareholdings or other securities. However, elected members and or employees may not participate in an official capacity in any particular matter in which they or anyone whose interests are imputed to them has a financial interest, should the particular matter have a direct and predictable effect on that interest. The financial interests of the following persons shall generally serve to disqualify an elected member or employee to the same extent as if they were the elected members or employees' own interest. The elected member or employee's spouse, the elected member or employee's minor child, the elected member or employee's general partner, an organization or entity which the elected member or an employee serves as officer, director, trustee, general partner, or employee, and a person with whom the employee is negotiating for or has an arrangement concerning prospective employment. Furthermore, elected members and employees must not be involved directly or indirectly in any official decision which could affect the value of their own investments. Likewise, elected members and or employees must not use any non-public information obtained in the course of their duties to advance their private interest or those of others. If elected members and or employees believe there may be a conflict of interest in respect to any private or family shareholdings or securities, they must advise the appropriate ethics officials in their organization. And so this is the portion of our ethical code in section 5, subsection 2 of what Ambazonians will be doing. Now, comrades, our time is actually up, and I want to give you, please, we are ethical. Let me just give you one minute to say goodbye to the people. I will leave the studios because some other people are coming in immediately after us. In a few minutes, the other program will be up, and so we cannot dive into their time. But to do us a favor, in 1 minute, give a summary or say what you want to say to the Ambazonian people as ethical people. Let's learn from you. Dr. Tom, you go ahead. The microphone is yours. You are muted, Dr. Tom. You are muted.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Thank you, Pastor Commando. And thank you for always helping us out, not only in hosting our ethics show, but on the many other shows that you host and what you do for Ambazonia. The fellow Ambazonians, today, 62 years after our independence was granted and stolen, and 7 years into the war, genocidal war led by La République on us, and almost 6 years after our independence was restored, we are much closer to that goal than we have ever been. Much has been done, much success has been achieved diplomatically, which we cannot name all of them here, on many of them even. And we are knocking on doors, and things are happening, and we are speaking behind closed doors with major world powers. And rest assured, your leadership is doing all it can to make our plight known. Not only make our plight known, but accelerate our independence train to Buea. So let us support our people back home. Let us support our brave Ambazonia State Army. Donate through your LGAs and your county. That way, not only do you help them financially, but above all, morally, by staying in contact with them and feeling the pulse of what is actually keeping this revolution alive. So my 21 gun salute to all of them, and let us step up our game for total independence for Federal Republic of Ambazonia. And today we are no more the interim government, we are the government of the Southern Cameroons. That government of Foncha, Endele, and Joa has been restored. That same government from to whom independence was granted and later stolen, that same government is there, headed by President Samuel Ikome Sako, who has proven his worth over all these years. And there is only one legitimate people's government of the Republic of Ambazonia, headed by President Sako. So support your government institutions, support the HSS, support your LGAs and your counties. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Tangsi. That is your chance to say a word to the Ambazonian people. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I will just summarize by using Dr. Ndula's phrase he used today. The water takes the taste of the pipe in which it is flowing. Ambazonia, after its annexation is over, is the pipe, and that pipe is full of ethics and justice and freedom. So, when the water that flows in it, any water that comes along shall taste justice, freedom, no corruption as it. So that was a summary for me today, and with that those passing it through will be investors, contractors at international level, and our diplomats. They take a very good taste, no corruption, and that's it. Thank you for being our viewers for the day. Bye. Thanks for your time.
And with that, sorry for that impasse once again. With that, we come to the end of our ethics program
From
today.
the Savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the home front and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the home front and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.